My name's Josiah Bell. You're watching 222 Productions.
So after I did the review for episode 1 of American Ninja Warrior Season 13, I had gotten comments saying that episode 2 was both worse and better than episode 1, depending on who you asked. And that made me both worried and excited at the same time. It's like, not sure how this is going to go. So that was a big question in that regard. And so I eventually watched the episode, and it was overall a good episode. I thought it was overall better than episode 1, but with a huge caveat of everything before the first commercial break was just really bad, honestly. But I will say that it was a noticeable improvement this episode, which is a shame because the ratings did even worse. It did a 0.4, I should say, which is down from the 0.43 from the week before. So, well, ratings continue to go down, and hopefully they're not too low, but we'll have to see what happens. So, with this course, I think one of the disappointing things is that it was mostly not changed. It is a shame that the two obstacles that I liked the least, being tipping point and V formation, remained the same. So, yeah, I didn't like it. You know, it's not like their existence bothered me, but it's like I really wish you had better obstacles on this course. I don't know the filming schedule, but it would have been nice if they had planned the filming in order to allot for better obstacle swap out, because, well, I don't know. If those obstacles aren't gone by episode 3, which I haven't seen yet, just for the record, I'm going to be very disappointed. But going into the, of course, the actual obstacles that did change, wait for it, is obstacle 2, which it's an obstacle I like. It's a good number 2. And the two split decision obstacles are the broken bridge and burn rubber, which I will give them credit, as opposed to episode 1. It did feel like these were two different enough balance obstacles, with burn rubber requiring long strides and maintaining your balance on some rotating obstacles, and the broken bridge requiring a bunch of fast short steps on some tilting obstacles. Would be nice if it was still say more dramatically different, but I'm basically asking for it to be Viking at this point, which had two very drastically different obstacles for their split decision in stage 2, but that's a topic for another time, perhaps a history lesson. So this episode started with a extremely cringy intro with the whole invasion of the teenagers. It's like, ugh, really? I almost felt the need to bust out the how you do, fellow kids sort of thing. Between that and the stuff they're posting on Instagram, especially that parkour video they posted to Instagram, the major how you do, fellow kids vibes coming off of ANW. But the first run really got my blood boiling. John Bandy, the eye ninja, he's an optometrist, came out doing this thing. I can't do it. My arms aren't in the right position to do it, but doing that thing with both his hands, and it reminded me of those 3 brothers from ANW 2 who all cleared the qualifier. If really, that really takes you back. But it's he goes to Cambodia and gives people glasses who can't, normally get one. And hey, that's pretty great. And then they go into his wife having MS, and it's just completely took me out of the whole thing. I think the way that they handle people having diseases who are still alive on this show pretty poorly a lot of the times, especially MS. And I wrote FTS on my notes, which I'll give you a hint. The S stands for show, and the T stands for the. He unfortunately went out on the tipping point, which I'm not sure if that was fast enough. May have been fast enough. I don't know. No, not fast enough. So then they showed Zanika Levette. She has energy bars. She was able to get revenge on Burn Rubber and failed on V formation. But it was good seeing her. But I think watching her run was kind of spoiled for me in a way that, like, the previous run just soured me so much that I actually went days before I finished watching this episode. I watched that first segment on a Monday, and then I finished the episode on a Saturday, just to give you an idea of where I was at mentally with the show. I could not overemphasize how much I hated the first 15 minutes of the show. Then it all just started turning around, you know? I was very sad to see Derek Miyamoto fail on the broken bridge. Got stuck there for 2 minutes. Julius Ferguson, Black Jules, good guy. I didn't know this, but, like, during the filming of ANW 11, which is when I, like, I hung out with him during Baltimore a little bit. When I say hung out, I mean hung out a little bit with him. And I took a selfie with him, and it's like, oh, hey, turns out he was homeless during then. And it's like, what? That was surprising. And they went into the whole thing about how he had a friend, Dan Champagne, who helped him out. Julius, I mean, he was one of those runs that I thought was just looking really good on the course until he just kind of gassed out on V formation. He kicked the last V, which I wouldn't say was the reason he fell, but it definitely didn't help him clear. And after that, my first thought was, man, they better show Dan Champagne's run. Because if you have these two so closely together, you got to show Dan Champagne. And much to my delight, after the next commercial break, they did in fact show Dan Champagne's run. And this is where things really started to turn for me. Like, I was already into Julius just because, I know of him, I'm a fan of him. But Dan, I was watching him, and he was doing great. He was clearing all the obstacles. He gets to the warp wall, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm just like, oh, wow. Wasn't expecting him to, go this far. It was his first time competing on the course. He attempts the warp wall, and he slips. And at this point, I literally get on my feet, and I start yelling at my TV, going, you better get your up that wall right now. And then he does. He clears. And it was actually a really cool moment. Really well done in terms of the presentation. The fluff piece with Julius and Dan I thought was really good, but just long for Ninja Warrior. If it was a completely separate video outside of Ninja Warrior, I would have had the highest of praise, but it was just a little long. But yeah, I won't complain too much. So next one, they had David Payne, who was an Olympic silver medalist, and he had one of the themes is that they've been doing the first 2 episodes. They've been really emphasizing having these like celebrity guests and stuff, and because they're promoting the Olympics. The Olympic trials happen on NBC, which why episode 3 was delayed a week. But they had Allison Phoenix as one of his supports on the screens, and I'm like, why does she look familiar? And then it hit me. She's the one who hosted that horrible American Ninja Warrior recap show from a few years ago during season 10. And it's like, it wasn't her fault that it was bad. Just the whole thing was bad. I think it was called ANW Recap or whatever the hell it was, but it was awful. Awful, awful, awful. He ended up failing on Wait For It, unfortunately. And then they had Sarah Chang, who, Sarah Sparkles, the future Dr. Sparkles. She's a dentist in training. I don't know. She, honestly, I think this really can show us how someone's personality can really brighten up a show, because just watching, I was into it, She had, her group of people cheering for her was so gosh darn loud that they were just booming through the whatchamacallit, the speakers, and yeah, it was I don't know, it was refreshing to watch. She ended up going out on tipping point, ran out, her grip gave up going out. Her grip gave out going up. But yes, unfortunately she's not moving on. She must have just missed, just looking at the leaderboard on my screen over there. But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed this run. Just a lot of things. I didn't know who Sarah Chang was, but now I'm like, I want to see more from you, and hope you do well in the future. Good luck being a dentist too. And then they showed my man, one of my guys, Josiah Pippel. There's a few people who I refer to as my guys. Josiah is one of those. He's one of those kids, the teenagers who I told people to look out for. Long before they started airing, even before they started filming, I messaged Rich from Armchair Ninja Podcast, and I told him 2 names to look out for: Josiah Pippel and Joseph Meisner. We got to see Josiah right here. They focused on his lizard collection, and he just kicked ass on this show. Just complete domination. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why I liked this episode more than the first one, because there was more people that I liked on this show. I think that was part of it. Because a lot of the times with the first episode, I just found myself going, I don't care, But with Josiah, he became officially the youngest person to clear the course. He attempted the Mega Wall, gave it his best shot, couldn't go through. It kind of blows my mind that he is only 15 years old, because that is so much younger than me, to say the least. But yes, I cannot wait to see more from Josiah in the future. Another name that I recognized, thanks to NNL, 2 names, in fact, True Becker and Olivia Colosano. True ended up failing V formation, and Olivia ended up failing one of the third obstacles. I'm guessing it was Broken Bridge. I forgot to write down which one. That's amateur hour, William. Come on. Drew is moving on, which is nice to see. Lance Pecos was... actually, before that, Riley Johnson. Talking about his dad, Cody Johnson, who was previously in ANW 7, the military division. He didn't do too well, but, they trained together in hopes of competing with each other. And I was like, this was a really good promo package. I think it's because it related to the show. Part of my problem with a lot of promo package on American Ninja Warrior is that they don't really have anything to do with Ninja. And I realize it's kind of hard to just have everything relate to Ninja all the time. But, in this case, it's a father-daughter competing together they've been training for years, and one day the hope that she'll be old enough to compete. Now she is, and she did really good. She had the nickname of Trip Hazard, and there was a moment where she actually does trip on the platform for Broken Bridge, which I thought was pretty funny. And she ended up failing tipping point, and it doesn't look like she moved on. That is heartbreaking, unfortunately. I would have loved to see her move on, because I do believe the father moved on. Did move on, possibly. Yes. Yeah, the father did move on. So it would have been nice to see them both move on together, but it wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. But, it was, just between him on the sidelines, leaving more nervous for his run, for her run than his, and just everything that happened. It was very enjoyable. I will say that I was disappointed they didn't show his run in full. He got fast forwarded. They instead showed Lance Pecos in full, and oh my god, the backflop that he did on the V formation looked so painful. I watched that and I'm just like, I felt that. It was so bad. But fortunately he's moving on, but it's just one of those falls where it's like, if you know, you know. It's like, that's not how you want to fall on water. If you're falling on a mat, you want to land. like that. You know, disperse as much of the pressure as possible. But when you're falling in water, that's not how you want to fall. Might as well just be landing on concrete at that point. They showcase Caden Lebsek next. And this is almost sort of like getting the Tisawati spot of like new young kid who they had other ninjas talk about how great he is. And, you know, I mean, to his credit, he is a good competitor. I surprisingly don't know a lot about Caden. You know, I don't watch ANW Junior. I watched the first episode of season 1 and it wasn't, you know, it was all right. I didn't feel like watching any more of it. And I haven't really seen Caden in NNL too much. I know he's competing. I just haven't watched him. I know he's good, but I just haven't seen too much of him. But yeah, I believe he got the fastest clear of the night. You know, it'll be interesting to see how he performs in the future. One thing that's worth mentioning is that I saw 3 different instances of National Ninja League footage. Footage in that people's recordings at the NNL World Championship, whether it be season 5 or season 4 Worlds. So that was nice. It was almost sort of like a Where's Waldo thing. Like, oh, hey, look, there's the NNL. Spotted it. Tiana Weberly. Let's talk about Tiana Weberly next. Christy Yamaguchi as her support, as well as her family. But I would have been freaking out if I had Christy Yamaguchi as my support. Because, like, hey, William, who's your favorite figure skater? Christy Yamaguchi. It's kind of... She came at a time when I was a kid when, you know, came at the right time. And I'm like, yeah! But, surprisingly, Tiana went out on tipping point. She couldn't figure out the 180 transfer. It was very weird, because, like, it seemed like something that she should be able to do easily, and yet was having issues. It was very surprising, I should say. I don't want to say odd, just surprising to me. But she's moving on, so that's good. And, let's see. Just kind of fast forward a little bit. Xavier Dantzler, yeah, another one of teenagers, really cool. I liked his profile piece. Traveling 2 hours to school and then 2 hours to train with Joe. It is sort of. I know it's not entirely their fault, but it is weird when I see that Ninja Gym reference because of what happened in that particular gym, and I know they're trying to shed the stink of what their former owner did, but I'll just leave it at that. But he ended up failing V formation, but he's moving on, and I'm hoping the best for him because he honestly, like, it's the first time I've heard of him. You know, first time seeing him, but between the profile and his performance, I liked what I saw. I liked what I saw a lot, and I'm hoping the best for him. Sandy Zimmerman got a nice profile piece, which was surprisingly about her success in ANW 11, not ANW 12. But it had a good message of how, like, all of her runs before ANW 11, I think, you know, she'll be the first to tell you, weren't great in terms of, like, numbers, in terms of number of obstacles clear. And then she just cleared the course, did well. And basically, it's this whole very simple but, like, enjoyable story of basically, you know, keep trying and you succeed. And I thought that was pretty darn great, honestly. I think partially just because I really like Sammy Zimmerman. I was a fan of her before it was cool to be a Sammy Zimmerman fan. So that's right, I'm a Zimmer hipster. But she ended up failing V formation. She tried skipping the second, and she's moving on, hoping the best. Few final fast forwards that I want to mention. Alex Weber from Crashing the Course ended up failing tipping point, and then my man Kevin Brecky finally getting his chance to compete on American Ninja Warrior. He failed Broken Bridge. Would have liked to have seen him go farther, but you know, it is, I'm sure he had a good time. He looked like he had a blast, and if he gets another chance next year, I'm sure he'll do even better. Good luck, Kevin, and congrats for being able to compete on the show. Although I will say, American Ninja Warrior, please stop fast-forwarding Lucas Reale. He's a really good competitor. He's a really good guy. He cleared the course again, and he cleared it fast, because he always does well. Stop fast-forwarding him. Please. And then they finished it all off with Joe Morosky, and I think this is honestly the most I've ever enjoyed a Joe Morosky run. I know that might be a weird thing to say, but it's true. I think it's the most I've ever enjoyed watching Joe Morosky. He made the course look effortless, surprisingly, and he wasn't even trying to go fast. His goal was to get the mega wall, and he did. He was the only person to get the mega wall, got the $10,000. So far, these first 2 episodes, we haven't even seen many attempts at the mega wall, and there's only been 1 mega wall clear yet. It's almost become, I don't want to say almost become an afterthought. It's kind of become an afterthought, a little bit. Just a little bit of an afterthought. But after he got the mega wall, he said he's going to the top of Midoriyama. He's called his shot. He is going to clear all 4 stages. I'm sure ANW would love to have him win, and have a winner in general. I've said this long before they even filmed to other people who know me, but I do believe that ANW wants a winner this year, just so they don't have to have that issue of what happened to the last person who won on the show. Let's leave it at that for now. All right, so let's look at the episode results. So, all in all, 9 people failed the shrinking slips, 16 fell on Wait For It, 9 failed the broken bridge, 2 failed Berg Rubber, 17 failed tipping point, 17 failed V formation, no one failed the warped wall, and we had a total of 7 course completions, one of which was a mega wall completion. And one thing that is worth mentioning is that for the first time ever, 5 women finished in the top 30. But because of the Akbar Bajabil moments, they didn't really get to celebrate it as much as they normally would. They did a better job celebrating the Fantastic Four from years ago than the top 5 that we had this time for women. Because they mentioned it like in one of the last segments about how, it is possible that we could have 5 women in the top 30, but they never gave the confirmation of, yes, there are 5 women in the top 30. You had to actually look at the list in the Akbar Bajabil moments, which, by the way, I will say, the Bajabil moments, not worth it at all. Way worse than the moments they showed in episode 1. It was just 3 random runs. That's it. It was not worth that segment. I would have just preferred if they had just talked about the actual top 30 and kind of recognized the women. But they didn't. So here are your 30 people from Qualifier 2 moving on to the semifinals. So completing the course was Caden Lebsek, Lucas Reale, Joe Morosky, who got the mega wall, Josiah Pipel, Anthony Porter, and Victor Chan and Dan Champagne. Now, yes, sure, Joe Morosky didn't finish in first place, but he's leaving with $10,000, so who's the real winner here? And failing the V formation was Julius Ferguson, Troop Becker, Mike Beadle, Lance Picas, Michael Louderly, Cody Johnson, Ruben Arlinao, Vincent Payne, Xavier Dantzler, Jason Grossman, Jonah Boner, Zanique Levet, Will Shalgater, DC Banks, Jose Gomez, Sandy Zimmerman, and Darren Perez. And failing tipping point, rounding off the top 30, was Francesco Barnas, Sophia Lavley, Perry Madison, Brian Montanese, Brittany Durant, and Tiana Weberly. So overall, the first segment was not great. I hated it. But after that, I just really liked the episode. And I'm sure it's probably surprised some people, especially after the reaction that I had to the first episode. But yeah, sometimes it just helps when you see people that you know, or you get profiles that relate to either the show or to yourself, That's the kind of stuff that I like. You know, it's not a perfect episode. You know, would have liked the course been better, but overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. Thank you all very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. The button should be right around here. And if you haven't seen it, go check out my review of Episode 1 of American Ninja Warrior Season 13. I was quite angry at it. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time.